Welcome to the Women of Ihsan podcast. I'm your host, Sofia, and this is an invitation to join me and our amazing guests to find inspiration and insights into your own journey to Ihsan. If you ever feel overwhelmed or confused along the way, I'm also here to support you so you can tackle your challenges with confidence and make progress towards this lofty goal. To find out more about my work, check the episode description and make sure to subscribe.
والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Women of Ihsan podcast. Today, I'm joined by Sara, who lives in Al Jadida in Morocco. Sara is the co-founder, of AI Wonder Girls. She's also a Evercoach certified business coach and consultant. She's also a Google developer expert in machine learning, a Google PhD fellow, and she's on a mission to demystify AI and innovation, revolutionize customer experience, and help multi-passionate, curious creatives thrive. Thank you for giving us your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's my greatest pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. I'm really happy to have you today. Before you talk about your career, what's your background? How was your childhood growing up in Morocco?
Yeah, sure. So that's going to be really interesting. So when I was young, I was like, I was the most curious person you could ever meet. So I was curious about everything. So one of the things I annoyed my father with was like asking questions, random questions about practically everything. Like just a simple one, like why would toothpick, for example, be called a toothpick? Like why did we give it that name? From where did it come from? So I was really curious. So one of the things I liked to do is go through my father's book, because like he studied like different things, and he had like a magazine called Science et Vie. So I really like it to go pick it up and read, to read stuff. Like sometimes I didn't understand that because it was too high level. It's about like scientific discovery. So, but I really like it, reading about it and understanding, just like how we human beings are, how our biology works, how other animals interact with the environment. So I was like a curious ball. Apart from that, actually one of the things I really liked to do was Japanimation, like watch Japanimation. And they really that's how I picked up French. That's what pushed me actually to become really good at French. And that's where actually like I was like a huge fan of the dictionary. Like there was one, I think it was like Larousse, but like a very old one, like I think it was the 1900 something. So I had that one, and it was like really a huge book version. I like it like every day to read at least one page, or to look at the pictures of anatomy of humans. Or like...
I'm laughing now because I used to do that as well. So completely, like subhanallah, I can completely relate to that because I loved my dictionary, my Larousse dictionary, which I got, I can't remember, maybe I was 10, something like that. I loved it until it was shredded to pieces, like after maybe 2 decades, or can't remember.
Yeah, so like that's really, especially when you have a certain curiosity, you're like you always want to learn. And if you remember back in 1000, like before the 2000, I mean, at least in Morocco, we didn't really have much internet. So there was the 2000 laptop, if you remember it. But it's like only until 2000. So there was nothing, to quench that curiosity or something to, focus it on. Obviously, like you go, yeah, I mean, you go play with your friends, but you can't play the whole day, right? You only play for a certain time. So I had to distract myself with something else. So like you said, like books were a great, option. And my father had a lot of them, although they were too much advanced for me to understand. But I still like it, to go through them and ask questions and annoy my father to answer.
Mashallah, mashallah.
So yeah, that's about like much of my childhood. It was just about, discovering.
Mashallah, that's really, again, I can relate to part of that, subhanAllah. Can you tell us more about your personal story?
As a curious human being, I always had things I was wondering about. And that's like drives much of everything I do, even until now. So I get like, curious about something, I go chase it, until I understand it. And then the problem I have is that I get tired of something. So like, after 4 years or 5 years studying a subject, I get tired of it and I need to change and, move to something else exciting once again. So that's practically how. So when I was young, I was actually in private school. I had like for my first 6 years were in private school. So we had like diverse set of activities. I liked, doing theater. I liked acting. One of the things I actually like picked up was that I actually thought I wanted to be a scientist. That's what my dream. That's like my main dream. I wanted to be a scientist, and not just any scientist. I wanted to be a very well-known scientist.
Okay.
Or something. But I had no idea what that thing was. So it's because like every day I'm interested in something new. So it's very difficult for me to figure out what I want. So when I was back in, I was struggling with this, what should I focus on later on back in my last high school year, what we call like back in Morocco. So that last year I was really struggling. I didn't know, what did I want to do? Did I want to do computer science? Did I want to become a doctor? Did I want to go do literature? So I was really lost. I remember going to a psychiatrist because I read online that they did some tests to help you determine what you can do in life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Usually like they have some set tests to help drive like the 16 personalities kind of tests.
Do you mean a psychologist then?
Yes, no, a psychiatrist.
A psychiatrist, okay.
Yes,
okay.
because like I'm not sure we have much psychologists. We have more psychiatrists than actual psychologists.
Okay. This must be something in Morocco then.
Yeah. So like when I actually asked him, he didn't have to do any of that. He just told me, he just gave me some drugs to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's what psychiatrists do. Sorry if any psychiatrist here listening to that, but
he actually fed me drugs so I can sleep more. I was really anxious. I was like very anxious at the time, so it was it was like very helpful to me. And one day when I kept asking him the same question, what should I do? Like what can I do? How can you help me figure out what I can do? He just told me, Sara, you will figure it out, inshallah. It will come. You don't need to know now. You will figure it out later. There was wisdom in that. Sometimes people don't need to get the answer right now, right? So what I did, I just discovered like one of the things I tried was computer science, obviously, as I'm still in computer science. I really loved languages. I am a huge fan of different languages. I was like, computer science is similar. It has different languages and I just need to learn it. So there's a similarity. I should be able to fit in. But before that, I actually wanted to apply to become a psychiatrist, by the way. I failed at the test.
Okay.
We usually have tests way before we get into an actually highly prestigious school. So it's a good thing I failed at the test. I don't think I would have been able to handle it with me getting so easily stressed. That's how actually I got into engineering school. I got once again into, what should I do? Should I do AI? Should I do, I don't know, IoT? Should I do software development? And then, I was like, by the time it was like 2016, and people, started to get interested. I mean, industry, because like research gets way more interested earlier. But like industry started to be really active in AI. That's how, I kind of got hooked to the AI thing. But before that, there was actually a huge opportunity by our school where it was like a small trip, but it was like where we had to do a project together with different nationalities. So we were like us, Moroccans, there were Spanish people, and there were Koreans. So it's like they got us together into a team of 7 people, and we had to solve local problems in a Moroccan area called Bensmin. So practically it was a very, so the project was called SMILE project, and its actual technical title is Beyond Engineering Education. So what they wanted to teach us was how we could use our own skills to actually do good in the world. So they gave us, a local issue, and we had to solve it using our skills. That's actually like at that part, it was like the most enjoyable thing I have ever done. That like really left a huge impact on me. And that's when I figured out, what I wanted to do in life was to use my personal and professional skills to help people create an impact in the world, like to help solve challenges that give us a headache and help, have a great impact on people. So that's kind of like how it streamlined all of the things I have been doing so far, like being active on AI for Good projects, helping share my knowledge with other people, mentoring, and doing all of this stuff, very AI heavily focused, but like mostly on Good for Good project.
That sounds great. Like basically when you were able to apply all of this knowledge for something which is like in real life, this is where it was the most enjoyable for you.
Yeah. Especially, but like the most enjoyable part was not just me, use my skills, because like the problem we had to solve had nothing to do with the stuff I was actually studying. It was more like towards like thermodynamics and like physics. This was more like different from computer science. But the thing why I liked it was that we got together with a couple of people, we were from different backgrounds, we spoke different languages, and it's all about the team spirit, like all of us getting together to do something meaningful. So that was like what I really loved about this experience. It's to get together with other human beings and actually do some good. Like, I could obviously do all projects for good by myself, right? I could sit down and code whatever I wanted, but I wasn't so excited. I never get excited when it's about me. And I always get excited when it's like about onboarding people to do something.
Were there any problems that you had to overcome, like major challenges? And what were the lessons that you were able to draw out from these experiences?
These are like the biggest challenges I had, like that had the most impact in my life. The first one was how to overcome the fear of failure. So I remember when I was back in my last year in high school, what we call the baccalaureate, I had this thought that I will fail my last high school, right? I was actually a very good student. I always had good marks. So technically speaking, and from an objective perspective, I shouldn't be failing. It just got installed like inside me, that I will fail somehow. And it was kind of like pushing me to overwork myself. It got so bad that actually in my last exam, like before the baccalaureate, the professor wanted us to do an exam, like one last exam before that. It's very similar to how actually it's the baccalaureate is, like all the conditions. He replicated all of them. And he actually gave us a paper, and I was like, I couldn't actually resolve a very basic chemical questions. It's like my brain was not working. It's like I know, it's like I look at this, I'm like, Sarah, you know how to solve this. You have solved it I don't know how many times. But it's just like I couldn't solve it anymore. Right? And actually like I gave obviously the professor my paper, and I told him I couldn't even think. It's like my brain wasn't working. He told me, what have you been doing? Because like he knows I'm a very good student of his. So he's like, what have you been doing? I told him like I am like every day, checking physics and then, learning from here and that. And he told me, your brain actually is saturated. So what I asked you to do is to stop actually studying anything. Yeah, he told me, if you want to do anything, you better actually stop studying. Otherwise, your brain won't work the day of the actual exam. My father has a very interesting way of dealing with these kind of challenges. He always says, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? It's death, right? So if that is the worst thing that can happen to you, just say it like this. And that's what I did. I was like, so Sarah, let's assume we failed this year. Okay, so we failed. What are we going to do now that we failed? So I was like, sure, I could like retake the year, right? Or I could do this, or I could do that. So I started to think of possibilities of after the failure, which actually kind of helped me overcome the fear of failure, right? Although it was really hard, like it's not easy just to say it, to do it, because I had to kept reminding myself of it every time it popped up. So yeah, that's kind of like one of the biggest ones, that was like the biggest hurdle. And then there was actually another one, moving on forward. And I think you might be very familiar with this one. It's the one where we say like opportunities are limited, right? We say like we're in country X, We don't have this, we don't have that, and we want to get to the moon, but we don't have something to fly us to the moon. We don't have the means to get to the moon. So I wasn't stuck in that point. I actually, at the time when I was interested in AI, I wanted to do, to go and do research abroad. What I wanted was to become a deep learning researcher, like R&D, research and development, and like work in industry, not in academia, to build solutions that are actually useful to people. To do that, I obviously, need to get a degree that says I'm actually have the ability to do research in this specific area. We don't have that in Morocco. I mean, AI is very new, right? And in 2016, it was really like practically like, no, we were actually like the only school considering doing a big data or, kind of like data related degree in my school. So I was like, I need to get abroad. That was like the same, the same chant I was actually telling myself every day, me and a couple of friends. So that was like what I always told myself. But like one time I got to an event called the TensorFlow event extended by GDG Casablanca. That's actually where I discovered we could do so much things just locally, right? There are lots of opportunities. It's not that opportunities are not there. It's that we don't search for opportunities. Like it's only when I actually overcome the limit of there's no opportunities and started just searching and Googling and trying to find that opportunity that I want, that I actually figured out, oh my God, there are so many opportunities out there. It's like, it's overwhelming. Like you get so many opportunities, you don't know what to do with them, right? The problem is not in opportunities. It's in us. Are we ready to take that opportunity first? Are we even looking for it? And is it what we are looking for, right? And do we have a plan? Like it's because like sometimes we say we want X, and when you sit down, you figure out you have no idea what X even looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like you have no idea what you really want. You think you want X, but you don't even know what X looks like, what you need to get to it, right? So that's like the second thing I had to overcome. And now actually like the thing I'm struggling with currently, this is like a current challenge. It's the challenge of actually focusing. So one of the things that opportunities give you when you're too much like involved in them is that you want to take all of them, especially when you have a fear of not succeeding in one thing and you have a brain that likes to think of different plans as a backup. So it's like you're taking different, from the start, you're like having a lot of buckets everywhere.
Yeah.
And usually the problem with having your buckets everywhere is that usually you tend to lose focus.
Yeah.
Because your focus is everywhere.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
your brain cannot give 100% of its potential. And so you're stuck with it's like we say, jack of all trades. We have actually a saying in Morocco that says, knows everything, but actually knows nothing.
Yeah. It's important to be focused, obviously.
Yeah. So that's like the hurdle I'm facing right now. That's like what I'm teaching myself slowly, how to, get rid of the stuff that aren't going to really get me to where I want and just focus more on one thing.
The other aspect I wanted to address is regarding your faith. What kind of role did it play in your life throughout these challenges and struggles, even right now, that you're still experiencing?
So actually, my faith is like, if I were to be very honest, it's the hard line, keeping everything together, right? So it's like, without that hard line, there's actually nothing. Like practically, I'm nothing without that hard line. So it's like every time I am stepping in to do something, I always ask, God's guidance, right? Like one of the things I learned when I was very young was that I shouldn't ask for specific, like, when I am, doing dua, I should avoid asking for something specific first, because I have no idea if it's something that is good or bad for me, right? I have no idea what is good or what is bad. I think it's good, but like sometimes you end up doing, landing on something that is really bad. That is like the first lesson I learned. The second lesson is that, and actually I keep getting reminded of it every time, especially when I get into something new, when I get some new challenges, is that everything is up to God, and that everything that is yours, that is supposed to be yours, will be yours either way, right? But the problem is that you just need to learn how to be patient and to stop thinking that it's going to run away, right? Like sometimes it's like when you're working on a project, right? And you think like you need to get to this opportunity quickly before everyone gets to it. Otherwise it's gone. That's the biggest misconception, right? And this misconception, I always like point to it as a trap, because like everyone surrounding me still thinks, has that mindset. Obviously, I personally don't have that mindset, but because everyone has it, I always like get trapped in it. Like, so it's very difficult for me to entrap myself every time. So that's that's the biggest trap, and where actually my faith comes in. I always need to remind myself that, you know, everyone's risk is already set, right? No one is going to be able to snatch something of yours if you're working hard for it. So just work and work at your pace. There is no need to destroy your health, get anxious, you know, and like stress about it. No rush, but keep working. So that's like that's like, you know, the biggest issue I have is that I always lose perspectives. Like I always like don't remember that there's no need to rush. It's like I'm always working to rush to get to it. But like my faith always reminds me, and it's actually like where my faith comes in it at like a huge plays a really huge role. It's to remind me that at the end of the day, I could die tomorrow, and even today, or even the next second, right? And I wouldn't get to that. So what I need to remember is that working hard is important, but constant hard work is not. Just like ruining my health, forgetting about, you know, let's say, for example, you know, the most important, which is obviously like the stuff that you have to do in Islam, right? Like ibadah and all of that. So losing perspective around what is important, your family, taking care of other people and all of that, sacrifice it to get to where you want quickly, that's not going to happen. It's like every time goes, you know, sends me signals. Every time I rush, I actually get back like at least 2 times behind, not actually 2 times ahead. So that's like where the biggest like play comes in. And there's a lot of, go ahead.
Sorry, just would you say that it's basically keeping you more balanced?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, especially one of the biggest lessons I learned when I was young, and when they were teaching us what is Islamic education, because we have this in Morocco. So we learned something called, you know, like al-wasatiyya wal-i'tidal. That means like the middle ground of all things. And like kind of having a certain equality because for different things. Yeah, right. And so that's a principle I strive to live by. So I understand that there is the need for failure so we can get to success. If you don't fail, there is no success. If there is no evil, you cannot see the beauty of the goodness of things. So
sorry. So today with all of this experience, this back and forth, and these struggles that you have, and holding on to your faith, what does it mean for you to strive to become a woman of Ihsan, to live with excellence, and how does it reflect in your work specifically?
So actually, how I strive to be a woman of Ihsan is very simple. Remember, I told you I'm a curious person. So what I really want to do is just take a moment to understand God's creation, right? As much as I can, reflect on it. And that's kind of how I actually like reflect it on my life, is by sharing the insights I get from these experiences.
It's also something we are asked to do. Even in the Quran, Allah is telling us about all of the signs He put in creation. And are we not going to ponder over them?
So that's like my favorite act to do. It's to ponder. It's like I learn, and then I ponder over what I learned. And it's like every day when I'm just going by, for my tasks, or like watching something, it's like I always related to what God, told us to do, or, something like we had to, kind of like bring us good. We already do and bring us good, but we don't see the goodness in it. And because people don't have it, they lose oversight, they lose that huge bonus point. So that's like what I do. And even like in science, there are a lot of things that are, reflective. It's like let's take the simple example of eating dates, right? So dates are like usually like before Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us to actually eat 7 of them. Yeah, right. And if you eat 7, you can actually last the whole day. Right? And this was like way before we had science prove anything. But now science proves that like these days are actually enough for you to really last the whole day, because they have everything you might actually need for your body. So it's like everything ties together, and the most important trick is to sit down and see how it ties together. And the more you see how it ties together, the more it's easier for you to get ahead in life and to actually expand your knowledge. Because like if you look and if you reflect just once, you will be able to look and reflect in everything that you're doing. It's like one thing can unlock insights in your business, in your life, in your relationships with people. It's like it develops a certain way of thinking. And that's what we call these days creativity, innovation. This is actually from where it comes. It's from sitting down and trying to see what is the relationship between A and B. To be honest with you, I look insights, especially this year, I look insights, like a lot of insights, because I have taken the time to like kind of take a break from doing a lot of things. So it's like every time I'm pondering more, it's like they say meditating, but like meditating in an active state, right? You're going about your day and then meditating. The most interesting ones are like something like, I'm not sure if you ever watched anime, Chinese animes, but usually like they talk about something like where you sit down, meditate, or like cultivate. They call it cultivation, where like they gather power from like their surroundings to actually like cross one level to another, to become like better in martial arts. And I am like, I was just sitting, I'm like, isn't this really similar to what we're doing in Islam practically, right? Because that's what we're doing. It's like you're crossing, and it's like Islam has actual, levels. And your faith goes from one level to another. And as you grow, a lot of things gets unlocked, right? Insights gets unlocked. So for example, one of the most interesting one I actually heard from a sheikh that is actually Moroccan, but I don't remember his full name. Sorry, I'm very bad with names. So he said, remember that when you're angry with someone, that person actually you're angry with has been sent by God to test you about something. And most likely you're angry with that person because of something related to you. So the Western word says, if you're angry about someone about something, especially if you're really angry, like it touches you like personally, and you start like, wanting to bubble up. So if you're like that, it means it's something that touches you. Let's say, for example, I want to change my habit of sleeping late. Sleeping late. I actually want to like switch it to waking up earlier, right? Sleeping earlier and waking up earlier. If my mom comes in and tell me like this, Sarah, you should sleep earlier, and like she makes it a commanding sound. The first thing you will be doing is like criticize the person, because they're attacking you. To you, it's attacking, right?
Yeah.
But then you remember that that's where you should remember that people are intermediate, right? It's like we're not here, we're not acting hazardously. No one is doing anything just because to do it, right? So sometimes God might send you a message through someone,
And sometimes
right?
these
Even
people,
like through your own self.
Yeah, and sometimes the people around us, like our families, I think there's a saying that says, they're like mirrors. So basically,
Of yourself,
you look at them, it's like they are going to give you, to reflect back the thing you don't like about yourself. But like a mirror, they only show what's there.
I agree.
They're not lying.
I used to get frustrated, I used to get stressed, I used to get angry at very, very simple things. But now, thanks to this principle, I actually like now I get like less angry. It's like it doesn't matter. Like most of the things doesn't matter unless it's really something that, you know, requires you to be, you know, reasonably angry. But it's because like for me, anger creates stress inside, which creates anxieties because most of the time I actually hold up my emotions. I don't let them out. So it's like I pile them up. So they kind of like create issues for me in my health. But now, you know, through that saying and through me, you know, pondering, like now every time I want to get angry, I'm like, so Sarah, exactly why are you getting angry? Is this really worth me? You know, like because like they say when you get angry, your immunity system shuts down. I'm like, is it worth my immunity system shutting down over something like this? So I'm like most of the time the answer is no. And it's actually it's the same with opportunities. Remember, I told you like there are lots of opportunities. Like when you apply to a job, right? And you get refused. So I used to get really upset, and at least I had to, you know, criticize myself for half of the day because I didn't get the opportunity. But now I'm like, so before before you start, this is like with me, this is monodialogue. Before you start criticizing me, did you even want that job? It's like more about very simple, mundane things that I do, but usually like cause a lot of issues in my health. That's like the biggest insight, especially this year around. But like, you know, the simple things as much as like remembering the fact that at the end of the day, everything is up to God. Like even just as breathing is up to God. Like God gives us everything, right? And so one of the things we don't do is that we don't thank God enough. You know, like in the Western world, they have a journal.
Yeah, the gratitude
gratitude journal. It's like they tell you be grateful 10, you know, at least in the morning, and then 10 over once before you. And like we were like, you know, taking our, you know, musbah, and then we're like alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Well, so exactly what you're doing. Are you reciting some kind of poem? You're not, right? Like with them, what they do is like they know what they're grateful for. They list it. I'm grateful for this and this. I remember, you know, like the most impactful thing I started the year with was the video that Bob Proctor streamed on one of his conferences around the paradigm shift. And what the video had was it was very simple. It said, you know, it was like recounting what you're doing every day, but at a slow pace. And the person, you know, the narrating the video, he was saying one of the things we should be grateful for. He was like listing everything we're doing day to day that we should be grateful for. The fact that we have a sunny day today is something you should be grateful for, because it could have been rainy. They could have been floods. Every 2 months we have a catastrophe happening. Just like last year we had COVID-19 is still roaming around. So he was like telling how you should be grateful for everything. You should be grateful that your kids are still with you. You should be grateful that you still have health. When I'm saying I'm grateful, I should remember what I'm grateful for, because if I remember what I'm grateful for, I truly feel it.
Yeah.
And it's not about you saying it. It's useless. You don't get the full potential when you say it. You need to feel it.
Are there any other, you know, routines or habits that you are keeping and that are helping you on a daily basis?
Yeah. So like I said, remember to see the potential in just the simple things you're doing. So like when you're waking up and you're like, you know, let's say you're taking a glass of water, take the time to actually, you know, just sip that water. Take the time to take it slow and go through your motion. You know, this is like one of the things that I'm trying to learn how to do, to be present at everything I'm doing, you know, because like that's what is requested from us. That's one of the things that is requested. We need to be conscious of what we're doing. That's the difference between a human being and an animal. I mean, right? It's us being aware of what we're doing and what is happening.
Yeah. The number of things we do and we are absent-minded. Like
really
you said, like you catch yourself, where am I going? Why am I doing that? I mean, it happens to me all the time as well. And you're right. The best cure to that is just pause and take a deep breath and refocus.
Yeah, just ask yourself, what am I doing right now?
And be in the
It's
present.
easier. Yeah.
We're always running after something. I don't know what. So that we are never in the present at the end of the day.
Okay. You know, remember they like in the Western world, they say to do meditation so you can focus, right? Did you know that the salat that we're doing is actually an improvement of the meditation? Because like previously, when people learned that there was a God and they wanted, you know, to worship God and all of that, they were getting creative around how we can worship God more. And so what they did was meditation. And meditation, what it is, it aligns all of the most important points into a certain structure, into a certain position. So it can help the blood flow. It has a lot of benefits. So when you're actually doing salat, like every movement you're doing, lifting your arms, saying the words you're saying, especially the words, you know, like I remember one sheikh saying that every word you're saying, like every word you're reading from Quran, Allah gets back to you for every word you say. Don't take Islam as a one-dimension thing. It's more complicated than that. It's like human beings. You need to learn how to understand it to see the full potential of it. So that's one of the things I'm trying to learn as well, how to be more focused, especially in salat. I'm not sure if it happens to you as well, but we tend to think
the question is not if it happens to me. The question is who it doesn't happen to. I mean, I've never met someone or heard someone say, I'm perfectly focused 100% during masala. I mean, apart from the prophets, alayhi salam, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially these days, with our mind filled with so much, it's so difficult.
It's more difficult. Yeah. So this is like one of the. So this is one of the practices I'm trying to do. You know, trying to see the beauty of things, so I can focus more and give it. You know, it's like we say, you know, so I can give it its full right.
Yeah.
So I can focus on it and give it, you know, its full given concentration.
And this is what we should do. Actually, we are supposed to do that.
Well, it's very difficult. I can tell you.
Yeah, definitely. It's not easy for me neither. And again, I don't know anyone who doesn't complain of lack of focus in Salah.
There is also one of the things I'm learning how to do. What I wanted to do was like read the Quran, right? Previously, what I did, especially in Ramadan, was I read a bunch of papers for every Salah, right? And usually for every day, I just read like 2 papers by Salat or something like that. So what I am doing now is changing this, because usually what I do is that I overwhelm myself when I want to do something. Like I ask for myself more than I can handle. And what I learned is that, especially in Islam, what Islam wants you to do is to go step by step. So that's what I do. So for example, like I told you, like right now what I want to do, well, Bob Proctor brought something interesting when I was watching his seminar around the paradigm shift. Once again, sorry, I'm mentioning him a lot today.
No worries.
So he said he was reading Napoleon Hill's book, and he said he like sometimes stayed in one paper 1 month or more. Why he said that? He said because like every day he looked at an insight from what he was reading. It's like every day he looked something different. He
1 month on a page.
Yeah, 1 month on one page, and I was
that's the book of a human being.
Yeah, that's the book of, and
so
it looks inside.
It just made me think like how we can spend our whole life like scholars. They are literally spending decades and decades and decades on the Quran, and they'll never get to the bottom of it. It's so deep, and so subhanallah.
It's amazing. That's what I'm doing like these days is like what I do is like I read only one. It's like one paper, and what I do is like I read it. I like listen to the reader, read it myself, and go through tafsir. And I actually pick the most simple one because I'm not the most brilliant individual in Arabic. So I pick the most simple one, and what I do is like I don't only read it, I also like reflect back on how it's affecting my life, and I can tell you I at least get 2 goosebumps in the day.
I believe.
It's powerful. That's like my routine.
Going back a little bit to maybe your work, what's more work related. So what is it now that you are looking to do in the world?
Yeah, so my legacy, what I want people to remember when I die is, I think it's that, this is like what I want to teach other people, is that we can do anything if we learn how to take resourcefully, think in a way that's what they call these days resourcefulness. We can solve, and I can say that confidently, we can solve any problem, not by having a lot of money, not by having a lot of resources, but by thinking creatively on how we can solve it using the means we have. We don't have to go search for the best out there. We just need to focus here. We have everything it takes to do what we want to do. So that's like what I want to teach people. How to, it's like when I was part of the project, like you mentioned, the SMILE project, one of the things they did was that they gave us a very limited budget. I might say a very meager budget.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us 3 days to solve the problem, right? That we identified. We did it in 2 days, and we left at least, I think, like 1/3 of the budget. Why? Because like we were having fun. We were very creative. It's like every day was like it was a challenge for us. Like it was a challenge for us. We learned how to, it's like each one of us came up with a solution, right? And every time we're like, but we don't have this one here. No problem. We can use this one here. We have like another substitute material that we can use. And like when the budget started becoming tight, we're like, no issue. We will just, for now, we will see how we can rearrange the budget, like spend more here, but spend less here. It's like we were very creative around how we can use our resources. And I can tell you, any kind of problem, we have a lot of problems, but the problem that we do is like, it's like usually like in AI, we have something like called deep learning, right? So it's like when you bring a huge knife to cut an apple. Huge knife, and you just want to cut a small apple. Why do you need a huge knife? You just need a normal knife, right? It's a knife, you can just, right? So this is like the mistake we do. When we have a problem, our brain only tends to think of the problem like a huge block, like a huge monster. We give it more importance than it should relate to. So this is like what I want to teach the world. Apart like from doing that, what I want to do is to demystify this thing around wealth creation. I always thought it was very hard to have money. That you need to work really hard, more hours, do something really crazy. But these days I'm learning how to demystify that. It's like I'm learning people actually doing very simple things that are very boring, and they're getting a lot of money. So it's like wealth creation does not depend on you having a bunch of money to do more money, or you working your
or having the idea of the century.
Yeah, thank you. Having the idea of the century. You just actually need to sit down and think of how to serve the people, how to
solve a problem.
It's like,
how to solve a problem.
How to help them, because like if you're bringing value to other people, they will pay you for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's like that's one of the things I really want to spread as a second idea. So it's about resourcefulness, and it's about the fact that everyone can actually become wealthy, especially in this era. We can all become wealthy if we really want to. We just need to know what we want to do and how to do it.
Really sounds good. What would be the message or the piece of advice you would like to give to any younger sister listening to you now? Yeah,
don't take life too seriously. That's the very simplest advice I can tell you. And actually, like, God always reminds us of that. God tells us life is a play, and it's repeated a lot in Quran, right? So the gist of this, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do what you have to do. What I'm saying is that don't get too angry with things. Don't get too anxious. Don't get until you ruin your health, get set over something. That's actually the biggest thing I want to tell you all. So think of life like an adventure. Or a game. You have some levels you need to hit. You will be facing challenges. For sure, you will be facing failures. You will fall head first. like you will be facing lots of monsters.
Mm-hmm.
All the thing you need to remember is this: it is an adventure, and so learn how to play and live. That means work, to do something meaningful in this world. We're not here, I strongly believe we're not here to work to get money. We're not here to so we can survive. We're not here to survive. We're here to grow. If you still haven't understood that, I invite you to really reflect on it. We're just here to grow, because if you want to become a better Muslim, you need to grow. You need to face challenges. You need something to make your life really hard, so you can understand the lessons, so you can unlock an insight, so you can get deeper in your Islam principles, so you can understand how things come at play, so you can understand God's power in everything that we do, God's forgiveness. You need to go through life with the bad and the good and the between.
Yeah, subhanallah.
That's why you need to think of it like an adventure.
I love it. I love it. So basically, not complaining whenever something bad happens to us.
Yeah.
Take a step back and reflect about how you can grow, what you can learn, what you can do better.
Yeah.
And accept that it's part of life. We're not in paradise. Not yet.
I agree.
No, because people are always complaining about not having everything like they want to. Yeah, it's not paradise here. So I think it's a great advice to put things in perspective again, being balanced and never put your health at risk.
Yeah, that's the problem. There are I believe, this is what I strongly believe in. Do not put your values or your health at anyone's control. It's yours, and don't let anyone challenge that. If something is challenging your values, be it your work, be it your family, don't let anyone cross that, because they are who makes you you, and they are what keeps you healthy, and they are what keeps you going. So don't cross that. If there is anything that's destroying your peace of mind, this is my own view of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If there is anything that destroys my peace of mind, I will stop it. Because when you're in peace of mind, you can get everything, right?
Yeah.
When you're not in, when you don't have your peace of mind, things just go really wrong. You get sick, you get really badly sick. You feel like nothing is working out. You complain every day. I can tell you that I'm an expert at complaining.
That's really a great piece of advice that you gave us. Before we conclude, I wanted to ask you, is there anyone you want to see or you would like to see on this podcast as a guest?
Yeah, sure. So I have a friend. She's called Sofia. She's actually Moroccan as well. She has a Microsoft PhD fellow, and she works public company that is actually around financial and all of that. And I really love how she's in AI too, by the way. And I really love her way of living her life. Right? She has some interesting principles. She doesn't get angry easily. She's not like me. She's not overly excited. And I really love the way she mixes both her faith, because it's if you feel almost everything is around her Islamic principles. So what I'm really curious about is how she lives her life through those Islamic principles. I would really be interested to know how she navigates it, because she's really amazing as a woman, as a person, as a professional.
She sounds to be someone very interesting, mashallah. To finish, where can people find you to find out more about you?
Yeah, so please just type my name. It's Sara El-Ateif.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me anywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you can think of. But please, if you really want to reach out to me, if you have a question or something, please reach out to me through LinkedIn. I am more available there, because I check it at least daily. The other social media, sometimes it might take longer for me to answer.
Okay,
and
great.
Feel free to ask me anything. You can ask me about anything, AI, neuroscience, life, whatever you
MashaAllah. I'll make sure to put your LinkedIn profile and the other social media handle that you have in the description. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this very interesting conversation.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
And it was really a pleasure to have you. And I'm also very curious, as you can imagine, and hearing from different people, their perspectives, is very enriching for me. We can have same values, same principles, but it doesn't mean that we all think the same and that we all follow the same journey.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. So, mashallah, thank you so much for being here with us. So anyone who wants to reach out to you, they can do that on LinkedIn. Same for myself. If you have any questions, if you want to see someone here on the podcast, please make sure to leave a comment and send your questions. You'll have all the details in the description to reach out to me as well. Jazakallah khairan, Sarah. Thanks again for being with me today, and wishing you all the best. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you all the success in this life and the next.
I mean, thank you very much, Sophie, for the invitation. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all lots of success, and may Allah guide you to the best.
آمين آمين وإياكي والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.